We've grown up in the church and have always been somewhat involved in outreach. But how can we get involved in missions overseas? My name is Marianne.
And I'm Lillian. We wanted to find out. Join us on our journey to discover the culture, the lifestyle,
the need, and the mission
in 2 of Southeast Asia's least reached countries.
Welcome to MissionTREK. Welcome back. In the last episode, we traveled back to Bangkok, where we visited the slum and learned more about Thai culture from the Witsits.
This is a map of Southeast Asia. We have been in Thailand, and now we will be traveling from Bangkok to Cambodia, where we are going to visit Tim Maddocks and see his projects.
Traveling in Cambodia is easy because the country is very tourist-friendly and cheap. Thailand is pretty much the same way.
But traveling between the 2 countries is a little more difficult because crossing the border takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Cambodia has a very dark history. They had a dictator named Pol Pot who ruled the country from 1975 to 1979. He established the Khmer Rouge, who under his leadership killed 1/4 of the entire population.
After Pol Pot died, the Khmer Rouge continued fighting for control in a bloody civil war, but they were eventually overthrown. Even now, the country is still recovering from its destruction.
Tim and Wendy Maddox moved to Cambodia in 1992 with their 2 young sons. They moved into the country right in the middle of the Civil War.
Because of this, they are faced with many difficulties, but with God's help, they persevered.
From the very beginning, they dedicated their lives to serving these people and have always made it a point to live like they do.
But before we get to them, we met up with a friend who took us across the border, and on the way, we stopped at a monkey temple.
We were crammed in this truck with all of our stuff. A little way out of town, we got hungry, so we stopped at the only vegetarian restaurant we could find. You have to cook your own food, so we ordered all the vegetables they had. It looks really bland, and it was. We continued our ride on into the night. We got to see elephants, though. The next morning, we stopped at what we call Monkey Rock, because there's lots of monkeys and a big rock. There were steep stairs that led up to a spectacular view through a big hole in the rock. The entire countryside was flat, except for this one rock sticking up. It was amazing. From there, it was a short run to the border. To cross the border, you have to get your passport stamped out of Thailand. Then walk a 1/4 mile through no man's land, where you're not in a country at all. Finally, you go into another building and get stamped into Cambodia. Cambodia seems much poorer and less developed. Check out the load on this motorcycle trailer, and there's a kid running on top of it. Just a few hours later, we arrived at Wat Preah Yesu.
We're here in Cambodia at Wat Preah Yesu with the Maddox, and we are interested in how this place got started. So what did it take to start a ministry, a project from scratch?
I think the biggest thing was faith, because it's like we're leaving a paid job, we're leaving the security of the town, and we're trusting in God to provide all our needs. One thing God said to me very clearly was that we weren't to ask anybody for funds to do what He was asking us to do. Just ask Him and He'll deal with it. And so that's a whole new way of life. Mm-hmm. And I'd been used to working where we'd ask people for money to do projects. And now that's no longer an option. So trusting God that when He promises He will supply all our needs, that He really means it.
So how did you hear God's voice telling you to start this project?
Well, it all happened back in 1995. We were living in Siem Reap, in the town, working with Adra. And in my early morning devotionals, I began to hear God sort of speaking to me in like an audible way. There was no loud voice, but to me it was audible. And He began laying out this plan that He had for our family to get involved in. And it was to set up a a center where new converts to Christianity here in Cambodia could be trained to become leaders in their churches and to go out and start new churches. Also to plant a church in our local community. And so as I listened to God, I got the picture in my mind of what he wanted us to do. Then I had to take the idea to Wendy and ask her for her opinion. What was your opinion?
I thought he was crazy. I didn't hear God's voice speaking to me, so I was wondering who it was that was really talking to him to take us out of the town and come and live in the rice fields where there were no houses and no people, and I wasn't sure what to think.
I think you need a little bit more information. You see, at the time, the Khmer Rouge was still a fighting force, not so far away from Siem Reap. And we had two small children. The youngest was 4 and the oldest was 7.5. And so we're moving them out into the rice fields, away from the security of the town. And we're going to be living in a little thatched house, away from the village as well, fairly isolated. So it was really quite a big transition for our family.
So then what happened next?
So we had to find land, we bought the land. The money we did that with was our own personal money and a donation from a friend. And this is another thing that God said, he wanted us to put everything we had into this project. And when it ran out, he would do the rest. And so we didn't have very much. We had about $22,000. And so we began pouring that into the project, and it doesn't take very long before it disappears. But we've never been without.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, we came here to this land, this place, in June of 1996. And right now we're in 2017, so that's 21 years.
There's a lot more projects going on than when you first started.
Well, one of the things that God mercifully did for us was not tell us everything at the beginning. Because if he'd told us everything, I think I would have just thrown up my hands and said, God, find somebody else. I can't do that. But if we will trust God, we can do all things together with God. And so mercifully God added one project at a time. So after we got the training program going for new converts to Adventism, then we added a school. And then a number of years later, we added an orphanage, and then a media center, and then another school, and then another school. This year we plan to add another school. As God builds our faith and our trust in him, he gives us more to do and takes us deeper into this journey with him.
And there's this really cool project that we've heard about that you're working on currently, the butterfly garden.
Yeah, that's a really cool project, like you say. And here is where our ministry is going to take a shift, because we've been totally faith-based. And the Butterfly Project is a tourism project where we'll have a very large butterfly garden, beautifully landscaped, waterfalls, fish ponds, etc. We're hoping that some of the more than 2 million tourists that come to Siem Reap each year will come to visit here, to the butterfly garden, and they'll pay to come in and they'll pay for food, etc. And that way our ministry can become totally self-supporting. It goes beyond that, because the life cycle of a butterfly is a beautiful way to see how God is creator. And so as people come through the butterfly garden, meet the butterflies, we want them also to meet God, the creator.
Is there anything that you would like to say to young people like us that are watching, like what they could do to prepare or to help now?
One of the most important things for young people is to listen to God through the Bible, through their parents, godly parents, through godly friends, godly teachers, and to believe that God has a work for young people to do. It may be something small, it may be something big, but that God has a work for every young person to do.
If young people would just give their lives to Christ, and say, I will do whatever you want me to do, even if it's different from what I want to do. The journey that God will take them on will be just so incredible. They will never regret not doing what they wanted to do. You know, we started out as missionaries when we were 21 and 20, and it's more than 30 years now. And it's just been an amazing life, an amazing journey. Today our children have grown up, they've got married, but they work with us here in Cambodia. Yeah, if we'd done what we originally intended to do, you know, we'd be just living the boring life back in Australia where we came from. But living for God, it's exciting. And so I encourage young people, get down on your knees and ask God, what do you want me to do for your work? And just surrender all.
Well, thank you guys for telling us a little bit about your life in the mission field. And
thank you for interviewing us.
Thank you.
Where are we?
We're at the Wat Preah Yesu Children's Home, which is actually undergoing a name change and becoming Butterfly Paradise Children's Home. And it's 5 o'clock and the kids are out playing. The sun's going down, it's a great time here, everybody's happy. And yeah, let's go and have a look at the kids. So here in the orphanage, the kids all live in families. So we have a mum and dad taking care of their own children and up to 16 orphan children. Wow. So it's a big family, but they do everything together. They cook together, they have worship together, they garden together, they go for outings together. So it's just like being a part of a huge family.
So are they all true orphans, or are they just like neglected or not wanted?
About 70% of the kids are true orphans. Then we have abandoned kids, and then we have kids who have a living parent, but for one reason or another it's not suitable or not safe for them to be with their living parent. So pretty much all of them need to be here. And being here is good for them. They get 3 meals a day, they have a safe place to live, they get good education, bilingual education in the school. Yeah, they have pretty much all their needs met.
seems like a pretty nice place.
Yeah.
So are any of these kids HIV kids?
Actually, we have 27 who are HIV positive. They all take antiretroviral drugs, and pretty much all of them are in really good health.
Do you have any stories like of the kids that you could tell?
Yeah, I can tell you the story of Chema here. One day I got a call to the village just down the road, and the village leader had a child for me. And the child was a 2-year-old and weighed 5 kilograms. And the mother and father were both living, but the child was living with a grandmother who had dementia, and the parents were alcoholics. And so I took this child and we gave her a name, Naomi. But she was so weak and thin, she looked like she'd come out of famine in Africa. I took her to the children's hospital. And when the nurses saw her at the children's hospital, they said, "Hey, she's got a twin sister here." And they said, "Do you want to see?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, take me to her." And so they took me to another ward, and Chema was there, 2 years old, 5 kilograms, big belly, skinny little legs, skinny little arms, looked just like they're just like twins. And they said Chema's mother had abandoned her at the hospital, and they tried to contact her but hadn't been able to contact her. And I said, "Would you take her?" And I said, "Sure." So 2 weeks later, I took the 2 girls home, and they're both healthy and happy, beautiful kids.
Wow.
You know, sometimes I ask lots of questions before I'll accept a child, but when I saw the other girl, Naomi, it's like, I'm taking her. And if I hadn't have taken her, she probably would have died within a week.
Is there anything that we could do, or those watching?
The best way you can help yourself is to come as a volunteer and teach English in the school. Volunteers come usually 6 to 12 months at a time, can stay longer. Usually finish year 12 by the time they come, but not always. some come a little bit earlier. And the other way you can help is by sending money. It costs us about $75 a month per child to keep them here.
Well, thanks for sharing with us.
Okay, most happy to share.
We're here with Caleb, who grew up in the mission field, and we were wondering what that was like.
How long have you lived here?
Close to 20 years.
How old were you when you guys moved here?
I was 4 years old and my brother was just turning 1.
Oh wow, so you guys are really little.
Yes.
What was it like growing up being like the only white person, you and your family, so many Cambodians? Like, did people like look at you differently or?
In school would have been the best example because I went to the local school, government school, and I was the only white person in the entire school, not just in my class. I don't really remember too much, apart from that everyone seemed to like me because I'm the only one white colour, so you got to like someone like that. My teachers I was their pet most of the time. They liked me that much. I was good friends with the principal in both schools I went to. So yeah, I didn't really notice the difference as such in school. I didn't get picked on too much. I'm a little bit taller than most Cambodians, so that would have helped. Yeah, so not too many differences there.
How old do you have to be to become a missionary?
As a child, you can share Jesus with the people around you. And a child being whatever age you are, if you can speak. So maybe a little bit older than 1 or 2 years old, I don't know. But at 1 or 2 years old, you're still very cute and lots of people want to see you. So if you make good friends with them even at that age, or your parents let you be around them, eventually when you can talk, then maybe you'll get a chance to share Jesus with them. So probably there's no age limit. And as an adult, it's just a little bit harder to learn the new language, but you can still do something.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, letting us ask you some questions. And
No problem. Glad I could share.
now we're here with Shannon, who also grew up in Cambodia, and we wanted to ask him as well a few questions about his experience. What was it like growing up in the mission field?
I'm not really sure about what it's like because pretty much I haven't known anything else. So it's pretty much my home. So growing up has been like just normal growing up.
Well, you don't know any differences.
That's the one, yeah. Yeah.
So, do you think of this as your home?
Pretty much, yeah. I feel Cambodian. On the inside I'm a Cambodian, on the outside I'm a something else.
How do you feel when you go back to Australia?
I feel out of my comfort zone. Australia is very different. I get cultural shock when I go to Australia.
Wow, that's like so opposite from like us coming here. It's like culture shock.
Yeah.
And you want to go back home. So for you, you want to come back here as home.
Yeah, I always missed here when I went to Australia.
Do you wish that you had grown up in Australia, or are you...
I actually quite like growing up here, so I can't wish for much better.
So what do you like about here?
Yeah, I like the people. They are socially friendly. There's a lot happening, big open spaces, that type of stuff. Tropics, I like tropics.
Nice and warm here.
Yeah. Lots of sweat, lots of dirt, lots of dust.
So what do you do here?
Well, I'm a multitask person. I work in our media center as video editor, cameraman, everything that's needed. I do Pathfinders. I'm the Pathfinder director for here.
So is there like an opportunity for a Pathfinder leader in America to come over here and help train and stuff?
Yeah, we're open. Yeah, we can, if there's people who want to come out and help, even for a short time, it's nice. We really need specialized people who know how to do Pathfinders and can actually teach it. So yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
God has really blessed the Maddox. And it's encouraging for me to see how they haven't let challenges hold them back from doing what God has called them to do.
And it's so amazing how many projects have been started since they went to the mission field.
Yeah, and they're not stressed out. I mean, they're really happy people, whatever they're doing, whether they're working or playing or anything.
And I think it just shows how when we are doing what God has asked us to do, we are given His peace, no matter what it is we're doing.
Yeah. And God has a specific task that He calls each of us to do. And a great example of that is Kathleen and Ellie. They had the idea to use horses as therapy for the kids.
Yeah, and we had the privilege of getting to visit this project and see what it was all about while we were visiting Wat Preah Yesu.
We're here at MissionTREK with Kathleen and Ellie, and we wanted to ask them some questions about their amazing ministry that they're doing here at Wat Preah Yesu.
So how did you guys get an idea to use horses as a ministry tool?
Well, I always wanted to work with horses and kids back in Australia. I was working at a school just as a volunteer with some of the horses and kids who were like having behavioural difficulties or struggling with their schoolwork and stuff, and I saw the benefits that it had with them. And with our kids here, we always have challenges in the classroom, so we're kind of always thinking of new ideas that we can use with them, and yeah, so we thought of horses.
How do the horses help with behavioral problems with the kids?
Well, working with gigantic, slightly scary animals, especially when they're so small, can often horses are reactive animals. They're prey animals, they react to fear, they react to bossiness, and we find that the kids here, a lot of them are very hyperactive, and they have to change their behaviour around the horse and learn to control themselves so that they can get the horse to do what they want it to do. We're not just using it though for self-awareness stuff for them, but also for them to learn more about God and how much He loves them too, as they try to make a gigantic animal do what they want.
Is it hard to find horses in Cambodia?
Yes. I mean, there is maybe, I think they said 15,000, but a lot of them are very small. They're all stallions. There's not any for sale that's over 3 years old because they get worked quite hard and they don't have a very long working life with their Cambodian owners. So we've had to go down to Kampong Jam, which is over halfway to Phnom Penh, to find our horses.
How long have you guys has this project been going?
Well, the idea was kind of born back in May 2014, but we've only started with the kids since September this year.
So we've had the horses just over a year.
September last year.
Is it popular with the kids?
They do enjoy riding the horses. They'll come around sometimes just to pet them, just to feed them food over the fence and things like that. It was obviously much more of a novelty when we got them at the first. It's kind of worn off, but we still have the faithfuls that come around. We have a group of trainees that come in the afternoon to learn how to take care of the horses, ride the horses, train the horses, with the hopes that they'll eventually be able to be used as teachers for the program.
Do you need any young volunteers to help?
This place, the whole school can always use more volunteers, and anyone who loves kids and isn't afraid of horses is always welcome to give us a hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know anybody else who's doing ministry with horses for missionary work?
For missionary work, no. There are a lot of horse therapy places, but I don't know of any in this country or in any other mission field.
This is a really cool project, and
thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Our last evening there, Uncle Tim took us into town to shop for traditional clothes and souvenirs.
Well, we're going to talk really loud so you can hear us. We're at a night market here in Cambodia, Siem Reap actually, and we are ordering roti, really thin, kind of like crepes. And you put bananas in it and you fold it over, you put chocolate on top and cut it up. It's really good. He rolls it though.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be interesting.
So they rolled up the roti, which is different. Usually they just like flat and they cut it up for you. But okay, we're gonna eat it now.
Mine's not cooked all the way. Oh well.
It's the banana.
It's mushy. This is not banana. Oh, it's good.
What is that?
That is the cobra.
Wow. And there's more.
Oh, this one's scorpions joined it.
How do you feel about all this?
This is not my place. I didn't see the plane.
Oh.
I'm not a tourist.
What was this place in '92?
This place? This place was a squatter settlement.
A what?
A squatter settlement. It's like a slum. But they moved all the people out to next door to where we live and cleaned it out and turned it into a market. It's much better now. I don't know.
That was so much fun. Lots of people would be really nervous to eat street food, but in our opinion, it's definitely the best.
Yeah, for sure. And Kathleen and Ellie's project is so inspiring.
And they had to go through so many challenges to get that project up and running. They had to search the entire country to find a horse that was gentle enough for the kids to ride. And they had to raise all the money to build the enclosures and buy the horses and food and everything.
Wow. We each have different talents and interests that we can use for spreading the gospel. God has a special place for each of us. You just have to ask Him where that is for you. Following Him is not always easy. And it's important not to give up and to keep going when things become difficult.
We'll see you next time on Mission Trek.
And remember to pray for the unreached.